So one of the reasons that this session was included because MEF has invested a huge lot of effort in developing the operational APIs. So having had success with the commerce APIs and the business APIs, the next step was to move to operational APIs. And really, we had some opportunities to do that with one of our customers, so we drove it fast. So I'd just like to introduce David Villegas again, who you met, but he's going to talk specifically about their requirements, about the operational APIs and performance management in particular.
Hi, David. Thanks a million for taking some time to talk to us about the operational APIs and performance management work we've done together at SES, and for sharing it with the MEF community. Would you like to introduce yourself and then maybe explain a little bit of the background around the operational APIs and performance and how important it is for SES?
Yeah, thank you. So thank you for having me, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to present. So this is David Villegas, and I work at SES for digital architecture. So what we have been doing indeed is to offer to our customers service monitoring metrics for their satellite connectivity. This is a feature that we have been providing for a while to our customers. That the way we were doing it was by using proprietary metrics that are provided by the different platforms that indeed are part of the satellite connectivity for different orbits, right? Medium orbit and geostationary orbit. The problem with that is whenever our customers are switching from one platform to the other, from one orbit to another, or when they want to monitor or compare the connectivity with the two, they have different metrics. And that's not very convenient. So what we have achieved here is indeed we have defined a unified data model for service metrics. And in that case, the customers are going to be indeed having always the same metrics through indistinctly of what is the connectivity.
Excellent. And what advantage did you think you get out of using the MEF-LSO APIs for the performance management?
Yeah, that's a very important aspect because until now we're having some of ad hoc connectivity. Let's say API to give the customers the access to this data, and now we're going to have a standard API that all the customers can use. So it's based on an open standard, and they can be indeed implemented by any other satellite operator, which I think is beneficial for the industry and for the customers.
And what type of functionality was involved, like in terms of what was your customer looking for, in terms of the features of the performance management?
Yeah, indeed. In this case, what we have indeed in production with customers using it is historical metrics. So the customers can query the metrics of their service, retrieve the latest raw values, but also they can request historical data for example, 1 year, and request for aggregated data of different metrics of different services, using different type of functions.
Excellent. And so you plan to actually take it beyond what you've done initially and given to those customers. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, of course. Indeed, the next step is to implement the live metrics. So in that case, the customer will be subscribing to the metrics they want, maybe a specific service, maybe a set of metrics, and they will be receiving the metrics as they come, right? So that's a major difference. They don't have to be querying, but they will receive them as they are produced, as they are measured.
Okay, and of course all of this is done in the context of the MEF standard for performance management. So you're able to leverage the work that was already there, but also I think you contributed.
Well, indeed, we contributed, but that was also thanks to Amartus that was representing SES at MEF. And basically we were working on a draft standard and sort of elevated into a production, which is the one we have implemented. So that was a very good collaboration.
Excellent, yeah, and it was really a perfect situation for us because, oftentimes you can work on standards and then the implementation actually lags and you have to go back and do some refinement of the standard. Actually, in this case, everything went together.
Yes.
We were able to drive the standard, the API definitions. It's now in the release, the latest release, the Fergie release. So, it's really been excellent.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Thanks for taking time.
Thank you.
Okay, so just in summary, just summarize, like the scenario that they have here is that they have GEO and MEO services. They really have a very strategic objective to provide self-service, and self-service again means portals and APIs, and both of those are aligned. Performance is a huge deal in the satellite industry. Being able to offer that performance. In fact, if David earlier in one of his videos mentioned that they've built it into their products, the tiers of products that they offer. So you get different self-service depending on which product you've actually signed up for. Traditionally, this environment, they have lots of different vendors. You are getting statistics based on the different vendor platforms. But of course, if you switch between one vendor platform and the next, you had a different set of statistics. So really what we did, and what he mentioned in the video, is we were able to take a standard that was already out there in a working draft, and this is something that everybody here can do, right? So you can take a working draft. If you have something, say it's usage or performance or a SOM that you want to do, you can actually come to the MEF, bring your requirements, drive the standard through. This was a 2-month process. This isn't years. This was 2 months, and we had the great help from the MEF community, Mike and all of the guys who work very hard there, to work together to refine that standard, to get it to a level that they could use in their production environment. And they were able to go to market and start integrating it for their customers in the production environment. So there's a lot of work going on at MEF defining the operational APIs, and there's a real opportunity for everybody to be able to drive it to their own advantage for their own customer needs. Just an idea here, this is kind of the architecture and what standards were we talking about. So there was a W133 performance monitoring standard. It was the business requirements and use case at that stage. There was no API definition for this standard. So in fact, what we did within that time frame was we worked to refine and provide inputs to the W133, and then we actually defined the API definition. So in the case of the historical metrics, it was the MEF W143, and in the case of the live metrics, it was the W147. And then we were able to quickly deploy that onto our platform for David and integrate it into their back office systems. So in their architecture, they have a backbone, which is a kind of a data warehouse, and then they have that data warehouse is always getting information from the back office systems. So you had the pub sub type scenario going on where you could subscribe for those statistics. They were being collected by the back office continuously. You could filter the various statistics that you needed from the data that was in the actual data warehouse itself. And there's lots of different options involved in querying that. So as I mentioned, there was 2 use cases: historical service performance metrics. This is a more request type scenario. You want to request the actual statistics. Lots of filtering options there. You can go and request a short amount of historical stats or a very large amount. You can request the historical stats from the last time that you actually made a request, so you pick up the differences. And then also when we look at the live monitoring metrics, and this actually introduces something very interesting that we don't really have in, we don't really use, but with live metrics, you've got streaming. And streaming is also useful for lots of other applications within this environment when you're talking about operational APIs. So not only did we introduce a streaming for the performance management, we kind of introduced a streaming capability that can now be exploited for lots of other possibilities going forward. So again, it's a pub sub type environment where you subscribe, and then that data is sent to you. But in the back office, there's also subscriptions to the BSS and OSS systems that are delivering that performance data, and it's been put into the data warehouse. So again, the big message is MEF is now well on its way to delivering operational APIs. So once you've got past that business API part, you can now take it further and have more of the life cycle covered for your customers. Of course, this is very important today, because in the horizontally integrated network environment, your customers need to be able to reach into your systems to get the performance and pass it up to their enterprise customers as an overall performance of the services that you are supporting them with.